So hello, my name is Anita, and I'm going to talk about my experience for the past 7, 8 months. I'm making this to create awareness, to connect with people that are going through the same thing, or know someone who is, or just to create a conversation about it, because that's where I feel like these spirits and these demonic presences are getting most of their power is from our ignorance and from our lack of knowledge. Um, so I will begin. Sorry. Um, my life for the past 7 months. Um, it feels like so much longer. I don't know where to begin, but I guess the beginning is a good place. It started with me getting really stoned one night with my friends. There was a new girl joining us, and instantly I felt drawn to her. We exchanged numbers and texted all night. Suddenly, she stopped answering me, and then I felt a caress of something against my skin. It felt good, it felt real almost, and then it was everywhere, like a person. And I heard a voice in my head saying sweet things, like how beautiful I was. I honestly thought it was her. At this point, I was incredibly naive to anything supernatural. And she told me that she had an ability to communicate with spirits. She had said she had that sixth sense. Whatever was caressing me had then taken it further, and we had quote unquote sex. I honestly thought it was her. This sounds insane, which is why I'm terrified to speak about it. Um, I thought it was whatever power the girl possessed in my head. That made me imagine it. I told her about it, and needless to say, she freaked and she told me I was psychotic. She didn't possess such an ability. We broke up. But this was only the beginning. Whatever this was, and I had sex many times, and only when I was stoned. We talked in my head. Now, for the longest time, it convinced me, or maybe I convinced myself, that it was a spirit of an ex-girlfriend who lived on like the dangerous side of life, and it was quite possible that she could have passed, and I wouldn't have known because I wasn't within communication with her for a long time. It convinced me that it was her. So I loved her. I mourned her loss, but rejoiced that we could be together this way. Until one night she responded to a message I sent months ago, and then we hung out. I was terrified. I didn't know what I had been spending my time with. I felt as though it all had to be in my head. The only tangible connection was my cigarettes. It loves to smoke them. I would turn out my lights, light a cigarette, and watch it smoke it. It couldn't take hits as deep as mine, very light hits that made the cigarette taste disgusting, but still it took hits. I saw the cigarette burn to its touch. I felt the coolness on my fingers when it smoked it. I would leave lit cigarettes in my ashtray for it, and sure enough, it would smoke them down. It would sleep with me, like, not in that way, but like it would literally like I would go to sleep and it would be with me while I was sleeping, like almost cuddling, I guess. Um, I felt its weight, light but there. I would say it was like I was dating it. It was unnerving, but for whatever reason, I didn't stop. I didn't want to stop. Something cared for me, and I was desperate for care, for love. Then things got weird. It felt like sometimes there was more than one presence. Um, and it, I now know what it was, but at the time I thought that it was me. I thought that somehow it had given some of its power to me to do things and to help it feed. Because it obviously feeds off of sexual energy, obviously. Um, but say I was holding like a pen or a pencil in class, and I would write like this, and like, yeah, it's like cupped like that. Like I would write like that, and this action would cause people around me, like men around me, to feel uncomfortable. They would cough a lot. They would squirm in their seats, and then eventually they'd go to the bathroom. And it was touching them in an intimate way that made them obviously uncomfortable. Um, Through me just doing everyday motions. I now know that it does this. I'm not sure if it does this to feed, but it probably does, because obviously that creates sexual energy. But to isolate me from the people around me, because the ultimate goal of these spirits is for you to kill yourself. because their kind envies the humans, because God favors us. We are his favorites. Everyone knows that if you believe in God, that humans are his favorite, hence all his mercy and all his forgiveness and all that. But this was a letter that I wrote to my spiritual teacher, to my psychic. I had been seeing her for about 3 months before I actually came to her about this, because I honestly thought I was going insane. I honestly thought that it was just me, and it was in my head, and but I guess this was the moment that I was ready to finally come to her about it, and she told me that it was an incubi spirit, and so we're taking measures to get rid of it. But it stems more from me, I feel, because it's almost as if a part of me doesn't want to let it go. But there's a stronger part that does. So I guess now my goal and my efforts are going to making myself whole and not having that negativity or that other side that wants it to stay, because that's obviously no good, because it needs to go. I it's not welcome here anymore. It doesn't. And almost, it's like I say that, it goes away for a bit, and then it comes back as soon as I think about it, or as soon as I get negative, or it just, I just need to get rid of it for once and for all. But I guess, I could be making this video for help, but I'm kind of getting the help. But if you have any tips, or if you've gone through this before, that would be great to talk about. I feel like this should be a conversation. People should be talking about this, because it's happening more than we realize. It's happening all over, and it should be something that is more commonplace to talk about, because it exists. It's real, but we kind of, I don't know. I can't say, but we almost, we're ignorant to it, and that's what gives it its power. That's what feeds them and gives them more power over us than they should. Um, so if you want to talk about this, or if you have questions, comments, if you're going through the same thing, don't hesitate to comment. Or yeah. So hasta luego.